Well, hello, everyone who is watching. I am once again back live for the a second day in a row, and you're witnesses of brand new project. I have no idea how long it's gonna last. At least for today, maybe, since I have a special guest with me, and maybe Wojciech. I'm gonna give you the word so you can introduce yourself, who you are.
So first of all, hello guys. Thank you very much, Arturs, for the invitation. My name is Wojciech Moranda. I am Polish Grandmaster, and together with Arturs, we are members of the same German team that is Schachfreunde Berlin, translated chess friends from the capital city of Germany. And yeah, I think this is not a big secret if I say that the idea, to do this stream together with Arturs was born when we were traveling by shuttle, like 2 weeks ago, to yet another Bundesliga session, and like somebody has to take the role of those backseat hecklers, on such a shuttle, 10 people traveling together, and I guess that we were like so entertaining back then that I know if you Arturs noticed, but literally everybody who could decided to put their headphones on as we started
Yeah,
talking.
yeah. Actually, somebody is saying that there's an echo. Just a second. I will have to fix it then. Yeah. So I have an alternative. Thank you, Mr. Atul Aurora, for saying this. Just a second. Let me see. Can you say something?
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. This is perfect. All right. Please continue.
So yeah, the thing is that I mean, at least myself, I can speak for myself. I had so much fun, talking to Arthurs back then. Also, some of our chess friends were interacting as well. So we thought that maybe we could bring it to the next level and organize a stream like this, so that you guys could also like hear us talking about like what has been happening in the chess world recently. But also, what I wanted to share with you guys is something that I guess that you do not get to witness every day because coincidentally today is the day when my chess.com Chessable course gets published.
Oh,
I need to say this openly. Arthur was the person who convinced me to do that, right? And
yes.
I am forever indebted to him for those words of encouragement, right? If
I
if there's some
appreciate it.
royalty, if there's a royalty program, within Chessable, sorry, like Arthurs deserves every penny of it.
Every penny. We already discussed the amount of the percentage. Okay, whatever. But wait a sec. Speaking of this drive, yeah, essentially this is how it happened, and I would like to believe that we are going to do it more than once. So you can imagine this: we traveled to Bundesliga, and we had to take a 5 hour drive. Yeah, 5 hour drive to what was this town? Wolfshagen, yeah, was it?
Wolfhagen, yeah. So
Wolfhagen.
essentially, if you think about the name of the city, you're either gonna get wolves out there, or maybe just some fences, I guess, because Hagen in German, as far as I can tell, is like a fenced territory, where you cannot enter, so easily. So there's nothing else out here. It's a lovely city, do not get me wrong, but there was only wolves and chess out there, nothing else on that weekend. So we had to entertain ourselves, I guess, otherwise, yeah.
Yeah. We went there, we got spanked, and then we went back. Yeah, so unfortunately, that's the weekend when we lost this very critical match against a local team, which was not really a local team, but okay, whatever. So they won fair and square. It was an exciting match, but at least something good came out of this. So we decided to join forces. And by the way, maybe Wojciech hasn't yet mentioned himself. He is I think your highest rating, Wojciech, was higher than me, and I'm a bit jealous of the fact. I think it was 2640, and my live rating was only 2637. So yeah, I mean, I'm always looking at you with some jealousy, and that's why I decided, if we are gonna do a podcast, I think the proper name, maybe we should figure it out right now. I have a suggestion: just call it Casual GM Podcast. What do you think about this?
Yeah, sounds really good. I mean, actually, my highest live rating ever was 2637 exactly, which means that
Oh,
we're more or less exactly the same,
I
right?
thought it's
So
2640. 2637.
I don't think so because I know I was 26-36 rated at the Chennai Olympiad in 2022. I won the first game, and then it happened. Then
Ah,
reality kicked in, and you know how it feels to go, to the Olympiad with high expectations, and it ends how it ends. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's absolutely it's a perfectly normal phenomenon nowadays that those higher rated players are like penalized for our high ratings exactly, and it's like that the strength of all the people chasing us, those 2400s, doesn't really correspond with the size of the rating difference in mathematical terms, right? Meaning that for a 2400 rated player, it's relatively easy for them to get a draw against us, especially with white if they want it, right? Whereas, if something like this happens, all of a sudden your account gets debited by 3 rating points. Yeah, so it's
Mm-hmm.
like kind of unfair. And if you win, it's typically after a struggle, and you get like 2, mathematically speaking, right? So now, obviously, I played very badly out there, and now my rating oscillates around 2560 more or less. But it could have been worse. It could have been worse. I'm not picky. I just try to do my best, and let's see what happens. Fortunately, they cannot strip us of the GM title yet.
I
Let's
have
say
to ask
so.
you this question, Wojciech. Sorry, I
Yeah.
think I interrupted you, but I have to ask you this question. Do you still care about rating? Because I think that this is the question that every chess professional quite don't want to disclose. Do you really care about rating, or you have reached the the moment when you literally don't care? How do you feel about rating?
No, essentially what I care about really in terms of my chess development as a player is like getting like an Olympic medal. That's the only thing that I care about right now. It doesn't mean that I do not care about my rating because like your rating is typically the resultant of the quality of your play. In other words, the quality translates to like the rating points that you attain, right? On the other hand, really, me as a player, I got like medals from my national championships, team championships, just about everything that I wished for in my life. And like that's the only thing that is missing. I got medals, from the European teams on my respective board, like team medal. That was like a particularly fulfilling experience. So now it's just an Olympic medal. And like on the Polish team, the competition is very tense. Apart from having a couple of very strong grandmasters, we also have like some very talented youth. We've got our teammate Jan Klimkowski, for example, who is not only very strong, but also he's already, at the age of 16, he already is Łukasz's second. Yeah, so
Yeah, yeah.
that says everything, I guess. Yeah, so obviously, you know what they say. It might sound as if I was overshooting, but in reality, I think that shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you land among the stars. Or maybe how are you supposed to miss something that has a diameter of 3,500 kilometers, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah. No, but
but
I
really,
think
yeah. Sorry, please go
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think I definitely can relate to you, but I have no medals at European levels because I think Team Latvia, unfortunately, is not as good as Team Poland. But I wanted to talk about how the situation has evolved. That I think that both of us we are not really uh, essentially professional players. I don't really know. I have thought about this for quite some time, and I've thought, am I really still a professional player, or I'm becoming a chess tourist, playing in international chess leagues and tournaments for fun. And at least when it comes to me, most of the time I'm doing everything except playing. Yeah, so I think for you it's going to be quite similar, but you're focusing on something else. Maybe you can explain it a bit more closely. But for me, it's essentially everything around content creation. Yeah, so I've been streaming on Twitch already for God knows for how many years, probably like 5 years. This row, I've been making YouTube channel, I've been coaching, which by the way is a big part of my professional activities. I've been playing, I run a Patreon channel, and I do commentary for chess.com, etc. And by the way, sometimes I'm playing, but as I understand for you, Wojciech, it's slightly different because you're like more focused on coaching. Or am I wrong?
Well, my background story is a little bit more peculiar than that because chess always has been like an addition to life, as I would call it. Because my parents always put a lot of emphasis on like general education, and it was very early in my youth that I decided that I wanted to become an attorney at law, which eventually did happen, by the way, right? So the thing is that chess has always been some kind of a form of entertainment. It gave me like the possibility to travel the world, meet some friends, etc. It was like it was and has been a really awesome experience. And then, inevitably the day came when I needed to, suit up, like go to the office, start working in the legal kind of business. And, it was also fun. Essentially I worked, first at a legal office, like a typical small but very, very kind of enterprising little law firm. Then I moved on to a big bank. But like I would constantly get this type of a feeling that like I'm missing out on something, right? I was like, like obviously as a lawyer at the beginning of my career, I was a foot soldier, but there were like prospects, like slowly I was like getting there. And then you kind of wake up one day in the morning and you tell yourself, no, 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 this is not what I want to do. And like you take a piece of paper, you write termination notice, etc. You submit it at work. To make things even funnier, you kind of do it like 2 months after your daughter was born, like in this was my
Oh,
case essentially. So you can imagine that my family was not particularly ecstatic about this message. Obviously, I did consult this with them previously, but you know how it works. And the day after the termination period lapsed from something that would be considered essentially like a fantastic job because it was great actually, right? I opened my own business which was exactly all about coaching, but the assumption was there that if I want to be a great coach, I need to like keep on playing myself because like if you're a theoretician and you do not practice, it doesn't make sense. You're not going to be a great theoretician either. So
yeah.
then it's exactly that I started working hard again, and slowly but steadily, I was like climbing the rating ladder all the way, as you said, more or less to 26,640. Well, nowadays my rating is slightly lower, right? I try not to fall below 2,550 because that would give me some some second
That
thoughts.
is
But
definitely delivering a big psychological blow. Like fall below 2500 for an active player, it's terrible, no?
Yeah, I mean, I do not wish to do any finger pointing because if I name this threshold like 2,500, like some grandmasters who are actually quite well versed, in tournament play, they might mind this because I know cases of people who are like very close to 2,600, let's say, and boom, all of a sudden, like as if they were like in some sort of a boom bust cycle, right? And the bust comes all of a sudden. No, but seriously, nowadays with something that we call rating deflation, it's perfectly normal for people who used to be rated 2650 to go to 2600, those who are 2600s to go to 2550. It's a perfectly normal phenomenon. Many reasons for that: availability of information, the importance of opening, preparation, just about everything. And there are going to be obviously cases of people who've been 2800 rated and they still are 2800 rated, but they're going to universally complain, well, things are getting tougher. As you know, like the Red Queen from the novel The Wizard of Oz would say, it takes a lot of running nowadays just to stay in place, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, I mean, on the other hand, coming back to you, I'm pretty sure that you fulfill all the criteria, all the possible criteria of a chess professional. Being a man of many talents doesn't really exclude you from being a chess professional. You do kind of spin a lot of plates at the same time, but you're immersed, in the world of chess, so nobody can deny this, right? So even when you're streaming, interacting with uh, let's say even like the average viewer of yours is going to be a little bit lower rated than you are, let's be honest, right? Like a little bit. Even then you're interacting with them and you are kind of learning something new, not maybe that much compared to doing like camps with your peers, other grandmasters, right? But you're still in the zone, so to speak, right?
Thank
So
you. This is very
you're
comforting.
you're welcome. You deserve it totally. But the point is that the fate of a chess player nowadays is not strewn with roses, in my personal opinion, because unless you're 2650 rated, you cannot really live alone from traveling from tournament to tournament. And you know the feeling. We got sort of minimally beaten in Wolfhagen, and like a 5 hour drive awaits us to Berlin, and then from Berlin, for example, to Breslau, which is like Wrocław, like a Polish city in the west. I need like another 5 hours, right? All of a sudden, you're feeling miserable because we lost the match, right? You earned like let's assume a
And
pretty
then we
penny.
stopped at some bad McDonald's, by the way, on the way. And actually, I had a pretty bad stomach after it.
Uh,
I made a decision after this. I will never ever eat at McDonald's.
Well, it depends how because to me, bad, the phrase that you used, like bad McDonald's, is like an oxymoron in the sense that, every McDonald's is bad in terms of food quality, right? Then again, the question is like, what do you expect from the food that you digest, that you eat on a daily basis? And also the other thing is that, what is available if you're traveling by shuttle, 5 hours in one direction. Nothing happened to me, maybe because my stomach is like a like a general with many badges in terms of different sicknesses that I acquire typically from my kindergarten kids, right? But I understand that this must have been not the most noble of meals of yours in your life.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely not.
It definitely wasn't. So I wouldn't really want to go to details, but let's just say it was a very awful Monday. But Wojciech, we start to talk about this, and we already had a couple of ideas we could talk about today. So our plan is to talk about our opinion about freestyle chess, what is happening. We would like to weigh in on the current cheating situation in the world, our 2 cents, what's happening. But we talk about these with these paths we have taken, right? That um, none of us, we are active professional players, and I just cannot not mention Felix Blohberger's video on YouTube that made waves. Like, when was this? Like a month ago or a couple of weeks ago? He said being a chess professional in Europe sucks. So that was the word, yeah. He said it. He said it sucks, really, and it sparked some discussions. And I have a question to you, Wojciech. What do you think about this? Because my honest opinion was it's not really so bad. And also there was a previous video by Chess Pro, and he essentially said the same. I believe it was Eric, yeah, who said it. Eric Hansen, who said that being a chess professional is really tough. So, do you agree with that? I have my own opinion, but first I would like to hear your thoughts.
Well, chronologically, it was Eric Hansen who first, expressed this type
Yeah.
of a statement. Then we had Vasif Durarbayli from Azerbaijan, I guess, who also wrote on his Substack or on Leeches. I didn't remember so well anymore. And then finally, just a couple of weeks ago, it was Felix Blohberger who kind of recorded like a separate YouTube video, right? Um, well, what's the thing? The thing is that nowadays, if you wanna sort of make a living from chess as a grandmaster, well, playing, unless you're like super strong, playing is gonna be, kind of some sort of addition to your daily routine or maybe a weekly, monthly routine, right? So essentially, if you're ambitious, you're still gonna be trying to play like 1 month, one long tournament per 2 months, or maybe if you're super ambitious, one tournament per month, right? But essentially, like the biggest chunk of your kind of I don't know, like the income stream of yours is gonna come from coaching, or maybe publishing if you're like particularly productive. Right, so we've got those players, for example, publishing a lot of courses with Chessable, and it pays off as far as I can tell, based on some rumors and stuff. What works for me is that, because I'm a father of two, I'm married, my wife, although like the best person in the world, and I'm like super fortunate that I met her exactly very early in my life. She's very supportive for my chess career. She also has a day job, right? She's like a layperson in terms of like when it goes for chess, and I also need to weigh that in. I also need to take that into consideration. So I cannot be like a sailor, traveling from port to port, like many times per month, right? So what I do, essentially, I try to focus on quality instead of quantity when playing tournaments. So I try to play the national championships each year, which is a super strong tournament, almost only grandmasters featured. I try to play the Polish teams, which is also another super strong tournament by my standards. Average rating of opponents like 2,500 more or less, right? And then if I'm lucky, I'm gonna get like a third and fourth tournament, right? And that amounts to about 30, 40 games per year. You get league games on top of that. But when thinking about your what you're going to live from, a professional chess player, you're going to definitely give preference to league games where you kind of get paid for that, like almost no matter what happens, right? Obviously you need to do your job, you need to play your best chess, right? But essentially you need to take money into the equation all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And in my case, like doing chess classes with others, I imagine this being like 60% of my spare time. 20% would go to playing, and 20% would go to writing, publishing. I do that rather seldomly, not because I cannot do it more often. I can, right? Since I work from home. It's rather that, I try to, when I'm producing anything, I try to produce like the highest quality, and I'm not like a serial writer. Let's put it like this. So 60-20-20 is how I do it, but you do seem to do it like a little bit differently because you focus on streaming mostly, right?
No, not anymore. This is a different subject I would like to discuss at some point, maybe today, maybe the other time, about where Twitch is going, what's the future of streaming compared with some other platforms like YouTube and Kick. But no, mainly I'm just moving on more to YouTube. And what you said about yourself dividing your time like 60-20-20, I don't really think I have thought about that so much. It's pretty obvious to me that my main occupation mainly is writing courses, coaching, commentary, and then, just like you said yourself, play a couple of games to stay in the rhythm. So I would again like to oppose a bit what Felix said. And by the way, this is what I wrote in the comment section of the YouTube. I said it. I don't think it's really so bad. And I think that nowadays, considering the modern challenges, a player needs to adapt, right? So obviously you cannot make a good living being a chess professional by playing in open tournaments. And by the way, I made myself a decision not to play in open tournaments at all. So I decided I'm not going to do this. It just makes no sense to play for me in the open tournaments. I am willing to make some exceptions, maybe something I'm not going to discuss today. But normally, no, I don't want to do this. But I don't think it's really that bad. But I suppose, again, it really matters where you live. What's the cost of the living of the country? So, for example, like in Austria, it's different. In Riga, it's different. Then maybe somebody from Norway is going to chime in. Like I remember this discussion about Ari and Tari. He was about to leave the Norwegian Chess Federation and pursuing something else because he just felt it's a pretty difficult way to make a living. But again, I think that all of it goes back to the topic that you cannot really make a good living in chess unless you are top 20. I don't know, maybe top 50, but I don't think that chess is really unique in this regard. So there was, by the way, Felix brought up this example about the tennis, that also in tennis, like let's say you are outside of top 50, you're still making a very good living. I don't think that's the case. As far as I have heard from some professionals, I think they're struggling. Even they're like out of top 100 or so. It's basically they're living by the month by month, and they just cannot get very good means of living. So I don't think that chess in this regard is unique. And if you are in this situation and the world is changing, you have to change and synchronize it together with the world.
Well, I think that on one hand, what you mentioned is correct, that it depends where you live. So Felix, for example, lives in Austria, I guess. So sorry, his cost of living is like a tad higher than mine. We can assume that this is the case, right? So he's gonna have to earn a little bit more in order to ensure like the usual standard of living for himself, right? For me, it's like a little bit easier, although things are, like getting like really, really pricier with the day here in Poland because, because of many economic kind of factors, right? But the other thing is that, like you mentioned, open tournaments. If you go to an open tournament, actually you first need to contact the organizer to make sure that you're gonna get the conditions, and it's not like a typical thing nowadays. I think it was Jordan van Forest, I think, or maybe Warmerdam. I'm not so sure about this anymore. More who mentioned that, well, he wanted to travel to one of those Arabic
One
countries for a
forest.
Van Forest. Okay, so he wanted to travel to one of those Arabic countries, and the organizer was willing to grant him only like a double-bedded room, subject to him, staying in that room with another person. In other words, yeah. So, well, for him that was like unacceptable from the point of view of, well, he's a grandmaster here in the title, he's a strong one. On top of that, he's like the elite, right? So he deserves to, to have this kind of lodging, like quality lodging, and this is totally understandable from my point of view. Whereas for the organizer, he's like, yeah, yet another GM, I guess, right? And there's apparently a limited number of one-bedded rooms that the organizer has at his disposal.
No, but
Right?
I would like to step in. I would like to say that just don't agree. Don't agree to this, and I don't really know. Did he agree to play in the tournament? Like, if he feels the conditions are not great, just
I have
take a
no idea.
stand. Just
I
take a
ha-
stand and don't agree.
I have no idea what happened next. This is what I wanted to say.
Okay.
I do not know what I would have done in such a case if I really wanted to participate. I don't know. I could eat that frog, as they say. I could like live another grandmaster as long as that is not a grandmaster from like the universal blacklist that everybody knows about. Like those guys who are very difficult to kind of get along with. And everybody knows a couple of examples. Let's spare our viewers the details, right? No, but seriously, the point is that some organizers, they do not grant any conditions. They're like, okay, I throw everything into the prize fund. If you're good, you're gonna get the prize, and you're not gonna regret it as a grandmaster. But you need to be good, right?
But
Then
Wojciech,
again,
yeah,
yeah.
sorry, yeah, you wrap up. I have one story I remembered I have to share with you.
Yeah, please do, please do. No, I mean, what I wanted to say is that, to give you an example, like the Grand Swiss tournament. So it's kind of pricey when you think about it, and like the 100th guy on the rating list, starting list, is still a grandmaster, quite a decent one, and essentially only like the first 40 or 50 people kind of get any kind of prizes, and only the first like 20 or 30 they get this type of a prize, which in size would compensate for the cost that need to be in the card in order to get there, right? So when you think about it and you consider going to such a Grand Swiss, unless it's in Riga, right, then what you're gonna do? Well, you're gonna go to Wolfhagen probably instead, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, this story about the Grand Swiss. Actually, I think that in Grand Swiss you don't get any conditions because you get invites. I played there only once back in 2021, and if you get an invite, I think they're covering everything. So it's like according to the rating. But I wanted to share with you this very funny story. That was the time when I was 26, 31. I think at least 26, 30 something, maybe 20s. Doesn't matter. So I was like, feeling really good. I'm a very good GM. I'm gonna make it top 100 in the world. So I started to write a lot of organizers. And I noticed, oh yeah, look at that. There's Gibraltar, this very amazing open tournament with huge prize fund, etc. I've never been in Gibraltar. I want to go there. And some people warned me, listen, buddy, you have no chance to get conditions there. But I thought, I'm cool, I'm going to give it a try. So I'm writing to Stuart Conquest, who is, I think, maybe he was at the time, actually at the moment the tournament is discontinued, because of the hotel repairs or whatever. Okay, it's not really relevant. So I'm writing a Stuart Conquest and I'm saying, I'm this amazing GM from Latvia, blah, 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 blah. Very often you have written these amazing emails trying to impress the tournament organizer why he should give conditions to you, not to some other grandmasters. I would always come up with some poetry, So I wrote some stuff about how I love Gibraltar and I would love to go there and I'm gonna popularize your event, blah blah blah. And he wrote to me, listen, normally we don't give conditions to a lowly 2600. Okay, those are not the words he used, but we don't give conditions to you guys. But if you want, I can include you in the waiting list. And I was like, oh, cool, waiting list. This is great. Yeah, let's include me in the waiting list. And I was like, walking like I'm a very important guy. And then I don't remember. It was like a month later or so, maybe 2 months later. Conquest writes to me, "Listen, Arturs, yeah, we have a spot for you. You can play." I was like, "Yes, cool, cool. I'm about to play in Gibraltar. Yes, yes." And I'm like, "Yeah, but on what conditions?" He's like, "No, no, no. You misunderstood me. You got a spot in the tournament." So you got a spot. Obviously, you pay everything yourself, but you get to play in the tournament.
Oh my god.
Oh, gee, I
it,
thought,
it
okay.
it reminded me of a kind of irrelevant story, but I was at the doctor's office and I'm like quite fortunate to have like a private insurance, but there was like a lady who was like insured publicly, and this is obviously terrible in every single European country, I guess. So she's like asking the nurse, like when is she gonna get like a date of some minor surgery, right? And nurse is like, oh, I have a very good kind of date for you. It's like July 20th, and it was like January, and the lady is like, oh, so it's like in half a year from now, and the nurse is like, not 2023. It's 2027, yeah. So, like more or less something like this. You should be happy that they allowed you to play this year. It could have been worse, but no. I mean, it only goes to show how of an elite tournament this is. Also, the thing is that I guess that from the organizer's perspective, there are like many grandmasters out there. Everybody is interested in participating in a tournament like Gibraltar, so you can like afford to separate the wheat from the chaff to get the very best, etc. Right? So, or maybe also this kind of modern tendency that in the past, without when the computers weren't yet so strong, a grandmaster, it meant something, right? And nowadays, you kind of watch the live stream from the World Championship match, and one of the 2800 contenders, he commits a mistake, like not a particularly easy one, but not a particularly complicated one either. And all of a sudden, like the inflow of insults begins. Oh, what an idiot! Like how did he miss that? My grandma would have spotted that, etc. Right? Just because those guys, are armed with an engine, sitting out there sipping coffee, etc. So, like the title of a grandmaster, it sounds, still sounds very, very proud to me. Then again, there are so many people who are like not kind of appreciating the amount of work that is required in order to get there, since like the availability of information is there. You can immediately verify the words of myself about a given position or yourself, without even like batting an eye, just like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree. By the way, I also read the chat that Thinker Teacher is saying, hey, buddy, you're saying that no GMs want to tell how rough it is. I think actually we can conclude this subtopic. I think it's not really rough. It really depends if you are willing to adapt. And also, this is what Felix taught himself later, is that if you're only playing in open tournaments and trying to make a living, obviously you cannot do it. But I think that I can only speak about myself, but probably Wojciech, you're going to agree. When we started to play chess, I don't think any one of us, we were planning that we're going to do this professionally, that we're going to do this for the living. So it's a very hard thing to do, You finished high school, you decide I'm going to be a chess professional while you're like, I don't know, 2200. Nobody does it. So we just continue playing at a good level. We're really good at what we do. And at some point, I think the life makes these amazing turns. You just realize, listen, I would like to do this. I would like to do it professionally. And guess what? Maybe you can make a good living out of it. But I don't think that anybody consciously does it. That okay, I'm gonna make a very good living being a chess professional and see how it goes. I think somehow it happens naturally.
Because if you're a grandmaster, it typically means that you started the whole adventure with chess at a young age as a kid, right? So kids barely think about like the essentials about money. They just want to go and play essentially, right? So once you get older, you're like 18, and all of a sudden your parents start telling you, well, yeah, like chess is great, but how about some serious education, like a serious job, kind of go to university, graduate, find a wife, have kids, work the same job, for 40 years straight until you retire. You have the privilege of taking care of your like grandchildren afterwards, and then you die. and then you're essentially done, right? So, me as a person who one day announced that I'm gonna be like deviating from this path, I was treated as a rebel, right? So, obviously, I do understand my next of kin, my family, that they do not have the same level of knowledge that I have, about the environment, the chess environment. I mean, so my decision, at least from the perspective of time, has been the best decision ever. Just to drop that like legal job and start focusing on chess completely. But for them, it's like heresy, obviously, right? How can you do that? That's such a great job. And I'm like, okay, if it's such a great job and it's such a great life, do it instead of me. Yeah, like please go on. Yeah, essentially. And funnily enough, 3 months pass, 6 months pass, and all of a sudden they start, they change the tune. They're like, oh, this must have been the best decision of a lifetime, actually.
Mhm.
Well, sometimes the only thing that is stopping us is like like peer pressure, also societal pressure, because you start getting second thoughts if everybody starts telling you, well, it might not work out. But then I said, okay, if it doesn't work out, I can always come back after 3 months, let's say. But at least this is how it worked in my case. But the bottom line is, as you said, if you apply the Bear Grylls kind of methodology, that is adapt, overcome, improvise, eventually you're gonna get there. It's just that effort is gonna be required. Sometimes grit also. But if you're a grandmaster, you're definitely not gonna starve if you just play your cards right. Yeah?
I love that. Yeah, playing the cards right. I think we're doing just fine playing them all right at the moment. Let's maybe move on. So we talked about Felix and his recent YouTube video. I think being a chess professional in Europe is great. It really depends what you do. So I quite don't share the opinion. But let's move on. And we discussed before the podcast that we are going to talk about several topics. So the next one on the list is obviously everyone right now is thinking about freestyle chess, right? So there's is it the divide in the chess world? I don't really know, but probably it is, right? So those of you who have been living under a rock and you don't know what's happening. So from one side we have FIDE with all the imperfections. Obviously, everybody likes to criticize FIDE. FIDE is not doing right this. FIDE is not allocating enough prize fund for this event, etc. On the other side, there's the what was this thing called? I don't remember. Freestyle Chess Club, I think, right? Where Magnus, Hikaru Nakamura, and some other top grandmasters, they have united under a banner of New Chess Club. By the way, I'm not even sure why it's freestyle chess, why it's not Chess 960, why it's not Fischer Random Chess. Maybe there's some legal issues with the name, and now they're kind of having some conflict with FIDE. So I thought that maybe we could weigh in here and give us our opinion. How do we feel as the casual GMs, and how does it look from our perspective? Wojciech, you can start.
Well, I've been thinking about this a little bit because, I don't know if you've noticed, but, the world surrounding us has been going to shit, I guess. If I don't know if we can use such ugly words out here on your live stream, but if this is the only way to describe things, then then you have to use the precise words. I guess that's the basic rule of linguistics. In any case, we've got like this war in Ukraine. We've got like some madness taking place in the Western Hemisphere. We've got huge changes here and there, right? And on top of that, in the chess world, I mean, the chess world is not free from all of this chaos either, right? I mean, in such crazy times, I think the Chinese say, let you live in, like interesting times, but this is a curse. This is not like a good wish for anybody, right? So if we are already living those interesting times, I think above all, like unity is in everybody's interest. On the other hand, I think that I understand both of the sides of this. I would call like a dispute, right? Because imagine you're like Magnus, you win like the world championship title something like 5 times in a row, right? And you feel a little bit like like a gamer, like a very talented one on top of that, who finished the game 5 times in a row. He won everything that can be done about it, right? In this respect, and then the producer of the game, well, yeah, there are no additional mods, there are no DLCs, right? Customer support is like at this level, let's say like average, right? So like in order to excel, and this lies in human nature, right? In order to excel, you're looking for other options, right? On the other hand, I would be going very, very far from bashing like FIDE for just being FIDE, as some people do that, right? And as much as sometimes they may be right in their arguments, I think that we do need like a global organization which governs like the whole sport overall, right? Because no matter how you slice it, FIDE, apart from like all this, situation right now with freestyle, it does a lot of good when it goes for education in schools, education those remote areas like Africa, Middle East, etc. Like the Trainers Commission publishing materials, right? You've got a lot of good people out there for sure, right? So, like, what I personally believe in is that it would be best for the sport if like everybody managed to find some common ground, right? Because this is possible. This is not impossible at all, right? But the thing is that you need like like goodwill from both sides, and you also need like some of the people from both sides to like lower their expectations, right? And then all of a sudden miracles are gonna start happening. It's like going to court, let's say, and arguing. Two parties argue against with one another, and then all of a sudden one of them says, "Okay, like if we reach an agreement, I can give up on this," and the other says, "Oh yeah." All of a sudden, they come very close to some sort of agreement, and all of a sudden the whole dispute goes out of the window. So imagine like an alternative universe in which the best player in the world, undoubtedly the GOAT, that is Magnus Carlsen, plays a world championship match. Let's say, let's imagine this happening, right, against like the most popular player, on the internet. That is, let's say, Hikaru Nakamura, right? And let's say that this match is organized by FIDE. And now it sounds really abstract in nature because those two gentlemen apparently do not want to have too much to do with FIDE. But imagine this kind of alternative universe in the like the theory of multiverses, right? So the point is that all of a sudden, all of those big companies really like literally throw their money at this kind of a match. They really want this to happen. They really want this to be featured. They really want to, instead of like, let's say, supporting artificial intelligence, they might want to support like real human intelligence instead, right? And you've got this kind of event, and all of a sudden the players are satisfied, right? The like FIDE gets a lot of sponsorship, a lot of publicity. They are also satisfied. The companies are satisfied. Literally everybody is all of a sudden satisfied. It's just that, like if you've got this kind of, let's imagine like a rug, let's compare it to a rug, and everybody's like pulling in their directions and nobody wants to like let go, well, we get those kind of dispute types of situations. And again, I'm not saying that somebody is right, and I'm not saying that the other side is right, but I'm pretty sure that if an agreement had been reached, this would have been super beneficial for just about anybody. While at the same time, I do like the idea of introducing new like sponsors, like powerful patrons, who are like financially capable of supporting the sport. I like the idea of making like chess 960, however you call it, whether it's Fisher Random, chess 960, or freestyle. Like I like the idea of introducing some novelties, right? Because maybe chess, like the basic version of chess, is not so attractive to like those big guys anymore. Maybe they want like a bigger challenge, right? And chess 960 is like totally terra incognita, like unexplored territory in terms of opening theory for many of them. And like if you listen to like Magnus's comments, sometimes he does kind of complain that, well, opening theory went a little bit too far already nowadays, making the sport a little bit less competitive, I guess. Yeah,
I'm
so
actually, I would like to, challenge him a bit here. So of course, I have the greatest respect for Magnus and everything, right? So there's no discussion that he is the greatest right now. But we just had our tournament in Tata Steel Chess, right? Where I think the tournament organizer, Jeroen van der Berg, if I'm not terribly mistaken, because I was doing the commentary for chess.com, so I can't remember the name, where he mentioned that he is very proud of the job of inviting the right players, right? So he invited a lot of top level players. Obviously, you have the world champion, you have the talents, and I don't really know, Wojciech, how much you were following Tata Steel, but I found it to be a very exciting tournament, And I think that we have been at this discussion for decades. So the first one, maybe even before, was Fischer, I mean, he said the classical chess is dead in 1990, whatever, 1992, 1993, because this was the reason why he invented Fischer random chess or the chess 960. And 30 years later, so again, we have people who are coming back and they're saying that classical chess is dead, classical chess is dead. I disagree. I think it is up to the players who can find possibilities to get fighting positions. But I mean, I'm completely also with Magnus because I think that Magnus is just operating at a different level. And basically, I like what he said is that to get the fighting position, sometimes you have to deliberately go to a worse position. But again, I think it's very important for the super tournament organizers to invite the players who are willing to fight. So you invite players who are notorious Queen d4, Queen d6, Queen e4, Queen e6 player in the Berlin. That's the result that you get, right? So you find the right mix. You invite the players who haven't got a chance to play at a super tournament level, and the difference is just huge. So I wouldn't really jump at the wagon and say the classical chess is dead. I mean, it's as evergreen as it has been, but of course everybody is entitled to his opinion, and maybe Magnus just knows it better, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of examples of games out there, like, okay, like everybody and their mom knows this one by this point of time, the Abdusattor of Mendonca French game, right? So essentially in that position after Queen b6, Knight c6, White has always been doing a3, b4 in order to constrict black, so to speak, on the queen side, and all of a sudden Abdusattor flashes out with a4, which goes against Brand at the very least, because if black takes on d4, and he will take on d4, essentially b4 becomes a huge weakness, right? And if you ask the engine for its opinion on a lower depth, it's going to say minus 0.10 for black, which might be like an absolute no-no to all of those players who are just engine slaves. Right? Oh no, as white, I deserve an advantage, so this is not the way to go. Then again, if you go deeper into the topic, well, essentially things get interesting because if black takes on d4, you've got knight c3. Like you rarely get knight c3 in its basic form in the advanced French as white, which is a thing. Also a4, if he moves the knight from c6 to b4 because he wants to do rook c8, knight c2, you've got a5 incoming. So this is added value, an outpost for the bishop on b5, which Abdusattorov made use of. He transformed into like a position where the opponent had the classical bishop pair, that is two bishops against two knights, and essentially was a close position, and Mendonca went down for the count relatively quickly, right? But the thing is that this was a classical example of him like kind of deviating from mainline theory at the price of engine eval, applying this kind of principle of a margin of safety, that how far is he willing to like weaken his position objectively for the sake of getting independent play, right? And it paid off handsomely, right? Myself, for example, okay, I didn't wish to compare myself anyhow to Abdusattorov, but like the last couple of days, I had spent analyzing a position from the QHD as white, where I unleash an idea that hasn't been played before, and the engine immediately says it's like, like either slightly better for black or a 0.0 type of a position, while at the same time those positions get really wild, counterintuitive for black. And I've got like 15 moves of theory. My opponent is on his own immediately. The price of like the reward for a surprise nowadays in chess on GM level is quite hefty compared to like the margin of safety that you have to apply, the type of a level of investment that you have to pay in order to get some independent type of a position. So I agree with you that chess opening theory is like far from being exhausted. Then again, I also look at the problem via the lenses of Magnus himself, in a sense that he knows more than we do, much more than we do.
Definitely.
So maybe he has like a better perspective on the topic. On our level, well, everything is still possible. Maybe just because we are grandmaster punters by his standards. Yeah, let's be honest. Probably.
Yeah. No, but actually, yeah, it's there's so many developments in the modern theory, and maybe the best players in the world, they're the best players in the world because they remember this stuff. But I'm already aligning myself to the group of the people. I just don't remember a thing, right? So I even struggle to remember my own games sometimes and what I have written my own courses. I think Wojciech, you're going to be probably also in that list, right? You write a course, and then you're playing the game, and the variation that you've written a course, you try to remember what did I recommend in that course anyway. So it's really hard to remember, and also this is something that Magnus complained that nowadays the theory is so heavily researched that not only you have to on purpose choose lesser continuations, but you have to remember a lot. But I think actually this issue is really at the highest level, and that's why somehow I feel that freestyle chess will be essentially an elite thing, because for us, for mortal players, I don't really think we have the issues by playing fresh positions. I was playing in Bundesliga a couple of weeks ago, and I played the game 3 idea of Gukesh against Dingler with this c-takes on d5 with queen c2. That was a complete blank page, and I felt really good. I thought this is a very exciting position I had never played before. Essentially, ignorance is a bliss, right? So I don't think I'll be suffering of the same problems that the top players are experiencing.
Although there's one reservation, I did warn you against this. I did tell you that in the morning not to play this line. You didn't listen, so
You did, me. I don't remember. Yeah, you said not to play it.
I did. We talked specifically about this position, but then I thought to myself, I'm not going to be particularly insistent because it's simply not going to happen, probably. And then it happened. I was like,
it happened.
like
I just
sitting
couldn't help
out
it.
there at the board, I was like wondering, what are you going to do about it? Since Motyliov is essentially a very strong and well prepped, like an all-around player. So I was like wondering, you're probably walking into something, and then it turned out that actually Motyliov was on his own as well.
Wojciech, I just have to interrupt here because I remember the most irresponsible thing I have ever done playing over the board. So it was a Swedish league game, and I was playing for my team Stockholm Rokalen. My opponent was Ari and Tari, so a very solid 2650 guy. And I played with white. Ari played the Karakan. And I'm thinking, what kind of system should I play? Should I play d4 exchange ration? Should I play e5? I was quite fond of knight c3 setups early, second move. And then I'm looking at the left, and I see Jon Ludwig Hammer, who plays for my team. He plays knight f3 and d3 setup. And I'm looking at this, and I was like, wow, look at that. Right, there's this system. I have never played it before, but I have zero clue what to do in this position. And I'm thinking, how irresponsible would it be for me to play this move against a 2650 level player? Guess what did I do?
Yes, some people just want to watch the world burn, I guess.
I played it and I won the game.
Well, I have this kind of safety mechanism embedded in myself, apparently. So whenever I want to use like the idea of cash, which is particularly enterprising and apparently quite promising, judging by his results, I kind of remind myself for stars that I'm not Gukesh, right? And if I manage to entertain this idea long enough, it kind of convinces me to go back to my usual repertoire, usually, I guess. And it's like this kind of a moment of enlightenment, right? That, you want to play something, but then you kind of look at it objectively and you're like, it's more of a nay than a yay. And I don't know, like I try to stick to my guns, but maybe it makes me predictable sometimes. I mean, if you have this kind of train of thought that you want to play e4 or d4 and you end up doing knight f3 in conjunction with d3, well, you're a dangerous opponent to me for sure. Yeah, because if you do not know yet what you're about to do, how am I supposed to predict what you're going to do, right? So no way, literally no way. Yeah?
That is brilliant. Yeah, you hadn't really thought about it. Indeed. So anyway, yeah, about this freestyle thing, I wish them the best of luck, really, and I think every chess variant it really enriches chess as itself, and I think that both sides, the Freestyle Chess Club and FIDE, they haven't really communicated in the best manner, because I was reading when the head of the organization, Jan Hendrik Butner, I hope I pronounced his first name and last name correctly, I apologize if I did wrong, he leaked a couple of the discussions he had with Arkady Dvorkovich, the FIDE president, like what they were having, and I just thought, I don't know, it just looks weird, really, right? And one of them says that I will be on the plane, I don't have enough time to respond to your messages. The other one gets upset. I think it could have been handled a bit better. And there's of course also this entire thing about the legal rights to organize the World Championship. And I don't really know. Maybe Wojciech, from your perspective, how do you feel? How do you feel like you have a degree in the law, right? So how do you feel? You're attorney at law, awesome, yeah. So how do you feel? What are the chances for freestyle chess? Are they right or are they wrong? Because Like me as a casual player, I just don't understand what's going on, and all I'm seeing is that FIDE keeps referring to the handbook where they have written that they are the ones who are organizing world championships. But again, what's the status of the FIDE handbook? I mean, you can basically write in this handbook everything, right? So I'm entitled to this or that. So how is
Well,
it?
first of all, I'm gonna say that something that every like self-respecting lawyer is gonna say in the beginning in such a situation. Nothing that I say from this moment on is supposed to be interpreted or construed as legal advice. First and foremost, yeah. Secondly, we do not have access to all the information. We haven't seen those waivers, agreements, whatever, right? We only know scraps of information. So about most of the things we can speculate without saying that somebody is right or somebody is wrong. Right? We are simply not in a position to do that because we didn't have like full information on the topic. If we had full information on the topic, this would mean that we're probably the involved parties or maybe their lawyers. Yes, and
Spoken
this is
like a
not the
true
case.
lawyer. Yeah, I can
I'm
sense you
doing my
have a
best.
degree.
I'm doing my best, right? No, and in any case, what I wish to say is this from like the legal standpoint, it's like a super interesting situation to follow, and I'm pretty sure that it's like not the end of the whole story because like as much as I understand what happened is that like there's this freestyle organization and they wanted to organize like world freestyle chess championships, right? Essentially freestyle in this case being understood as something that we believe to be chess 960 and or Fisher random,
I
depending
mean,
how
it
you.
is just 960. It's just 960 with a different name, no? Am I wrong?
I think so. I think so. Yeah, if it's just about shuffling those pieces, in different directions, right? Then essentially that's it. I mean, some people dislike the name Fisher Random apparently because they do like Fisher, like his legacy or his views, whatever. So I think, like historically speaking, it was like this that okay, like Fisher got sorry, like the FIDE got established in the 1920s, more or less, right? And since then has been this like widely, kind of recognized organization. Even the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, recognizes them as like the governing body for like chess. I think it was shortly after the Anand Karpov World Championship match 1998 1999. That was a big thing because we're like assuming that, oh yeah, they recognized us, so we're going to become an Olympic sport all of a sudden. No, 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 like 25 years had passed and nothing changed, right? And nothing's probably changing in this respect. But in the meantime, we've got Fischer, who obviously ceased to play like actively at the beginning of the 70s, right? I mean, he was still present in like obviously everybody knows his views, back then, and like this kind of stuff. We know about that second World Championship match, against Spassky, and what was that island name of the island once again? It was 1992, or what was it when he kind of left the US to play
In Belgrade, it was not an island. They played in Belgrade, no? In 1992.
Stefan, something like this. That was like on an island. I'm not so sure about this anymore. So I'm just trying to like recollect what the story out there was. And then in the middle of the 90s, he announced that he invented Fisher Random, right? Like this kind of a game where you just kind of shuffle those pieces standing on the first or eighth rank respectively, and this gives you like mathematically 960 distinct combinations, meaning that opening preparation is completely pointless. Yeah. So all of a sudden we've got this kind of a situation. And as far as I can tell, FIDE says, no, you cannot do that. And Freestyle says, well, so please sell us the right, to do that. And then FIDE says, well, notwithstanding some kind of numbers, like financial figures that were being mentioned, FIDE says, well, we cannot sell it, we can license it to you, right? And then all of a sudden there's like a misunderstanding and all things go south. Yeah, that's like simply put, like very, very simplified version of events as far as I can tell. If I'm wrong, chat, please correct me. Yeah. But from the legal point of view, there are a couple of interesting questions that need to be asked. Like, first of all, nobody denies that FIDE is like the sole entity that is allowed to organize like the FIDE World Championships at chess. Like understood like purely as chess, right? The first question that bothers me in this, that I would be asking, as a lawyer of either of the sides, is like, is chess 960 actually still chess, right? Also,
the same for chess variants. Is any chess variant still chess? I mean, does
Backhouse,
FIDE
for
govern all the
example.
Backhouse? Does it govern atomic chess? Does it govern chess 960? Does it govern fog of war? Actually,
Exactly.
does anybody know really?
Exactly. Then we've got another question, really. Then we've got this kind of a question of okay, like what if me and you, like we create this Arturs and Wojciech World Chess Federation. We decide to organize the Arturs and Wojciech's kind of world championships, chess championships, right? Can we do that without asking FIDE for permission? Right? Because what Freestyle wanted to do, they wanted to do like the Freestyle World Chess Championships, right? And apparently they couldn't because, well, they asked FIDE for permission. They wanted to buy the right to do that. So I assume that they thought that they cannot do that for some reason, right? So this is just implied, I guess. I have no idea personally, right? And then we've got this kind of a situation that I'm wondering, to whom does chess actually belong as a game? Right? Because if you create like a board game, let's say, or a computer game, you're like the sole proprietor of a game when you think about it, right? And you can kind of sell a copy of the game to somebody, but this person doesn't become like a owner of that game; it becomes a owner of a copy, of a physical copy containing that game. If you buy a disc or something, right? So you're like licensing like the right to play to that game to that given person. Because you know, as far as I can tell, India, like chess has been invented like many, many centuries ago in India. It got brought over, from India via the amber trade, like all across Europe, at least to Poland and, those territories, and when you think about it, like the inventor is Indian. And in purely legal terms, like if you apply general rules of law, like who can decide about the fate of a game? Well, the person who invented it, or maybe their descendants, right? If you're able to prove that you're a son of some kind of Khan, in India from 2000 years back who actually created the game, right? And then again, in many developed countries, you've got this provision of like a solution, in inheritance law that says, well, essentially, if somebody dies without leaving like any heirs, or maybe if you cannot find those heirs, like the inheritance can be, kind of assumed by the state, right? So, well, in extreme cases, when you think of it, we're just theorizing, we're having fun out here.
Yeah.
Chess, if it belongs to anybody, it belongs to the state of India, unless you find any heirs, of the guy who created it, right? So who would be capable of deciding like who gets to play and who gets not to play, right? Like the state of India, I
But,
guess.
but
But
probably it's
yeah,
gonna go to the court at some point, right? I mean, just
yep,
to
we're gonna come to
understand who
that.
has those rights.
We're gonna come to that. But then you can say something else. We can say, well, but the game of chess is so widespread, and you do not need to ask anybody's permission to play the game in a park against some elderly people. So it must have entered the so-called public domain already. So if it's like public domain, it belongs to literally everybody, and nobody can it doesn't belong to any. It belongs to everybody and nobody at the same time. But if it's the case, like you do not need anybody's permission, you cannot really license it to anybody, you cannot really sell it to anybody. There's like a really limited number of things in life that you can sell or dispose of it, do anything you like with it without being its owner. You've got like short selling of stocks, but this is like an extreme example where you kind of sell something, but you're not the owner of that apparently, right? But that's the detail. In any case, now all of a sudden, we're reaching this kind of catch-22 situation, like a paradox which has no like an eternal loop. And I'm thinking about it like this. I'm like, how on earth are we gonna, we're thinking about it logically, and those problems only keep piling up, right? And then we go to a more like procedural problems, right? Because as far as I can tell, in reaction to like the World Freestyle Chess Championships being, announced, right? FIDE, what they decided that they're going to be submitting some waivers to the players who are involved in the candidate circle, as far as I can tell. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this was my understanding of the whole situation. And this waiver said more or less that, well, if you decide to participate in the event called like the World Freestyle Chess Championships, you're going to be excluded from the cycle, right? From the candidate cycle, right? So that is interesting for me from several perspectives, right? But first of all, like, what would I do if I was a player and I felt wronged by that? Yeah, because some people are gonna say, well, if you sign the paper like like that, that's it. That's a game over. Some people, who are like laypersons, right? And again, it's like a super kind of abstract situation because first of all, we do not know like to which court we're supposed to take this case, right? We do not even know what is the applicable law. Apparently, like those agreements stipulate that. We can assume that it's like Swiss law, maybe because FIDE has got its headquarters in Lausanne, right? And maybe if it's Lausanne, essentially they decided that there's going to be an arbitration clause towards in favor of the court, international sports court in Lausanne. There is like a body like this, which decides many cases like pertaining to like doping, cheating, etc. Right? And all of a sudden you think about all this, and those questions keep on piling up, piling up, piling up. But if I were like a player, if you're a player, and you feel that you're being wronged because you want to participate in the freestyle event, and on the other hand, you also want to like be a part of the candidate cycle. Again, I'm theorizing. I'm theorizing, right? So this is just pure abstract discussions. I would be thinking about some sort of a preemptive action. Preemptive meaning that before a problem hatches, you go to court so that the court says, no, 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 FIDE, you cannot do that, right? And those judgments are usually passed very, very quickly. But sometimes if they're complex, they cannot be passed. Yeah, so that would be one thing that I would be thinking about. But let's assume you've already signed a paper like this, right? So then the thing that comes to my mind, right, is like not to kind of live with it, but if you really, really insist, you do something like this kind of a declaratory action. You go to court and you say, dear court, please declare that this waiver is null and void because I believe that
Yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
I was coerced. Let's
Yeah,
say
yeah,
I was
yeah.
coerced, right? So this is like really abstract stuff, and I'm pretty sure that it's not going to come to that, right? And I'm pretty sure that, like different legal systems of different countries, like provide different kind of legal remedies, for different situations. And I hope that it never gets to that. But as a person with a legal background, it would be super interesting to
So,
see how this
but
goes.
there's a Wojciech, there's a very nice potential for a drama, right? Because I mean, we have been living in such an age that every single week there's a drama. Like I'm opening Reddit like I don't know, not once a day, maybe once 2 days, and there's always a drama. There's a cheating scandal. There's the freestyle chess drama. There's this drama. There's that drama. There's this guy's upset about that. So it's always something, and it's to be honest, it's getting a bit tiring. I tweeted this like some couple of days ago that I just wish for a quieter, yeah, the genes and the co-champion saga in the FIDE World Blitz Championship. I mean, for as a casual chess fan, again, it just feels okay, guys. Listen, it's a bit too much. And when it comes to the name, actually, I find it quite funny that there are maybe legal problems naming a world championship, but you can call it the global championship. You can call it the solar system championship. You can call the galactic championship, right? There's so many names, but apparently for the world championship, you couldn't do that, right? So I find it quite amusing.
Yeah, that's kind of, if we have to go to this, that we start, like circumventing some waivers by calling it the galactic championships or something. That's like childish, obviously, right? But what I wish, because what I've been talking about so far is like how I kind of think about it if I were like to consider it legally, how from the point of view of what kind of legal remedies I know from my own system, like the Polish law, how things could possibly go. But I really do wish that both of the sides are gonna like shake hands. They're gonna find a mutual agreement for the benefit of the whole chess world, right? Because we need FIDE and we need Magnus and Hikaru and all the other guys. We do really need them for, in order to make the chess world better, right? So naturally, like I believe that, it's gonna be resolved, it's gonna be fine, right? And hopefully this is gonna go exactly in this direction because, in terms of like the history of chess, we've had situations like this before. I think we had PCA, right, in the 90s. We had some secession attempts, and at the end of the day, like divide doesn't benefit anybody. So, at the end of the day, like FIDE as this governing body of chess always survives because, again, like that's a huge enterprise which also with also huge experience, huge traditions, like a bunch of, again, as I mentioned in the beginning, good people who like work in the best interest of the sport, and we need them. But again, we also need like role models like Magnus and Hikaru to make the sport more popular because, like they are like the faces of the sport right now. If you kind of meet anybody in the street and ask them about the world champion, everybody's gonna tell you in my home country that it's like at least that Norwegian guy. Yeah,
Yeah,
surely.
sure.
Yeah, so you can imagine like the amount of popularity like the random people know about the chess world champion. That's my bottom line. I really wish that the situation gets resolved amicably because that benefits the sport overall us as players, whether we are super grandmasters or not, or just like average joes, right? It's like again in the interest of just about everybody to find some sort of a settlement, and I'm pretty sure that both of the parties are capable of finding common ground out there, and
Yeah,
this is what I wish for.
I also wish that to them. By the way, Wojciech, I have a question. How much time do you still have? Because you said you have limited amount of time, but we still have a couple of things to discuss.
Maybe half an hour, so if
All
you
right.
didn't, if you wouldn't mind, we could move on like to like the topic that like the PGN that I sent you
The PGN,
before the
yeah.
event. Yeah.
All right. I mean, by the way,
So
we are probably not going to manage to discuss everything, and I would like to continue this because we also have our opinion about the current cheating situation. I think all of us we have been in that situation when we feel something weird is happening, and the question is this paranoia? Is this real? So also, I would like to talk about the role of Kramnik. By the way, what's been happening in the past couple of months, but I suppose we're going to do this the next time. But yeah, let's maybe do now chess part. Let me just select what I have prepared for this. Just a
very
second.
nice. Yeah, so maybe I can use the opportunity to speak about it a little bit, since I did mention in the beginning that today is the day when my first ever Chessable course got published. I'm super excited about all this. The name of the course's title is "Calculate Like a Beast: The Moranda Method," and it's not anything like
The
it doesn't have
Miranda
anything.
method.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be narcissistic anyhow. It's just that I do not know like a single person from my direct kind of like just neighborhood, let's call it like this, would be working under a calculation like this specifically, right? So this is the type of a method that I've been using with my students for years now, and it's a very effective one in my personal opinion, judging by the results at the very least, and also like the improving quality of their calculation skills. So like if you decide to log into your Chessable account one day, like within the next couple of days, you're probably gonna see this big red ape-like gorilla, kind of a beast, on the middle of your screen, and this is like calculate like a beast, like
I
this is the
never got
beast.
it, by the way. I never got this huge banner. I'm very
Mhm.
jealous. So I have written myself 4 courses. The fifth one, the Scandinavian, which doesn't really have a proper title just yet. It's scheduled to be released late spring, and they never made a banner for me. And actually, I think it's not fair. You make your very first course, and now you get this banner. I mean,
Yeah, that's
immediately.
That's very
I,
nice of them. I feel very fortunate. Yeah, so definitely I need
I'm
to
gonna
thank them
complain.
separately for this, I guess. Yeah. I thought that everybody gets a banner like this, but
No,
apparently, well, maybe you should write a course about something else than Dutch. The Dutch, next time.
no, no, don't you dare
with,
touch my Dutch.
with
The
all
Dutch.
due respect, with all due respect, yeah.
Oh, come on, come
No, no,
on.
no, no, no.
You're the
Seriously,
you're in the
I mean,
opposing camp. I feel, yeah.
no, 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 no. My cooperation with the people at Chessable has been like just perfect. I mean, I loved every second of it, and I'm super happy that I listened to once again your advice to pursue this adventure. Wasn't it for you, this would have never happened.
You know, I have to mention here, you are at least the third author I have directed towards Chessable. So the first one was Alexander Rachmanov. We were playing in FIDE Grand Swiss 2021 in Riga. We just played a game. We played a draw against each other. So we were having a walk to the hotel, and he asked me, "Can you tell me something about Chessable?" Of course, I said, "Yeah, they're really great. You should write for Chessable, etc." So we discussed this, and guess what? I mean, a year later, I think it was about a year later, he wrote the course. And then there was another guy. I forgot who. There was another guy. So you're the third one. I think I deserve a commission out of this.
Well, they should definitely buy you a virtual beer or something. Yeah.
Virtual beer, virtual thumbs up. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, after the first million in income that they, kind of acquire from your recommendations.
All right.
No, but coming back to the course, well, essentially, if you manage to share the screen with our viewers,
Yeah, I'm showing the diagram already. Yeah.
okay, because I can still see you, but it's a different story. Yeah, but okay, what I mean to say is that, typically when I remember myself being a little bit younger and being coached by different trainers, and how the calculation training with them would look like, it would be like, oh yeah, Wojciech, I've got those couple of puzzles, some endgame studies which are very interesting. Let's try to solve them together. Let's talk about this, right? So there's nothing wrong with training based on good material, but the problem starts when like when it's not organized, because you get like 10 puzzles in a row which are about tactics, and tactics is not really calculation, and then you get another 10 in a row which are about like forcing moves, but there are no candidates. So the ability to elect candidate moves is also a skill when you think about it, right? So this is what you get, and you go to a tournament and you're starting to wonder, like, why is this calculation training of mine not like yielding any effects yet? Yeah. So I've been working with professionally training others for many years now, and you always get those kind of dilemmas. How to help a given person, how to, like, what is missing, what needs to be improved in another person's playing style. But at the end of the day, you're always looking for some universal training methods. And a while ago, I wrote this book, Universal Chess Training. It was like essentially a method of training strategy, like in a universal way, that you divide, the time available into 5 most topical problems. Like there was like playing against weaknesses, statics, dynamics, coordination, anticipation, prophylaxis, attack, and defense. And if you train like this, you kind of cover like 80% of the positional problems that you get in any game of chess, right? And then, immediately start thinking, how about doing something similar for calculation as well? Yeah, and then it kind of dawned upon me I needed to tweak this method a little bit. But when you think about it, first of all, it starts with vision, right? Vision understood as the ability to see different kind of moves, and sometimes vision is going to be tricky. So I call it like perceptivity, when there's a move, but it has the tendency to escape your attention. Yeah, so like moves on the other side of the board, backward moves, right? Some sort of a tricky knight moves, for example, right? Leaving pieces on pre, undefended. This kind of thing that never escapes the attention of the engine, especially if it's objectively an easy move. But humans are prone to committing mistakes in this regard. So that's number one, like pillar number one. Then you've got evaluation and candidate moves, because like candidate moves, they're not, they do not fall from trees that you just collect them and then you just consider them. You have to evaluate the position first, and there has to be this kind of logical link between what you think about the position and the kind of moves that you're looking for. Okay, engines do it differently. They just brute force everything, but they calculate like billions of positions at the same time in 1 second, while we humans, we only do one at a time, one per second, right? Then if you have a couple of cannon moves, you need to kind of separate the wheat from the chaff, right? So you have like comparison, elimination as techniques, right? So you eliminate the ones that like fail tactically on the spot, and if you have two that look very similar to one another, you kind of compare them, you try to dissect, figure out the difference, and then all of a sudden you're like left with one, maybe two candidates, and then you start calculating them, and they can turn into force lines. Those force lines are typically intertwined by intermediate moves, right? And this is yet another skill that needs to be owned. And then there's the fifth thing, because I think it was again Magnus. We were saying Magnus all the time today, but Magnus is simply everywhere. He's the goat. Yeah. So I think it was him, or maybe another very strong player that said in the past that, like the problem of cheating. That for him, it's not that he needs to like a helper of him, another person to tell him, what is supposed to be played in a given position, like to sneak, in some information to him, but rather just to give him like a pat on the shoulder and say, hey, like this is the position when you need to focus on the most, right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
something
sure.
out here. He's gonna figure it out. And for us, it also applies to a certain degree, right? If you have this kind of a positive knowledge that there is something out there, your brain starts thinking in a completely different way. So this is why the fifth pillar of my training method is about finding the mistake. So I don't know if you must have studied the books by Mark Dvoretsky, right? So sometimes he would like insert a couple of puzzles where you get like not position, but a fragment of a game, and you were supposed to find, like a specific kind of moment where one of the players went wrong, and like an improvement on top of that. And this like increases your speed, and you're not supposed to compromise like increases like quality, but you're not supposed to compromise speed at the same time. And if you have a training method like this, you've got like 5 exercises per day. You're supposed to spend like 60 minutes on them all together. You've got like a complete calculation workout for the given day. And judging by my students, they do not want to do anything else on that day in terms of calculation because they're simply worn out afterwards, right? So
Jesus.
every single element of the calculation process is covered. Every single skill that is needed within the calculation process is covered. And on top of that, you get like a sixth sense for, like locating critical moments.
Is
What
this
could be?
the one? Is this the one from the course that you're showing me the diagram? You just want to torture me right now? Right now, I have to solve it, or it's like a position you have never done yourself?
Yeah, I mean, because if I took some games from the course, that would be ruining the fun for some people because the course is also organized in a quiz kind of, format, meaning
Okay.
that I would be ruining, like spoiling the fun. So for you specifically, like I created a dedicated
For
set,
me.
but like, and for our reviewers, obviously, right? So
And
for
you
you,
know the solution.
I know the no, no. Well, otherwise, if I didn't know the solution, right, how could I present you with with some material like
All
that,
right. And
right?
now I have a question. Is this purely calculation puzzle?
Yes,
It's
yes,
purely
definitely.
calculation.
Purely calculation, right? Because this is a calculation training method at the end of the day.
Oh,
So the
gee.
first puzzle always pertains to vision. The second one, evaluation canvas. Third one, as you can tell from the text, it says this move or that move, you decide. Fourth one, you're supposed to assess the consequences of a move which steers you straight into a force variation. And then you've got like find the mistake. So what might be most interesting for your viewers, I guess, is the fifth one, because like statistically everybody solved a normal puzzle in their life. But how about this find
The
the
fifth
mistake
one, not the
puzzle?
first one, yeah?
Yeah, let's because we do not have the time to do them all, right? And like the fifth one is gonna be most entertaining, I guess. I'm just gonna open it up on my own computer just to follow,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
I'm just gonna quickly memorize it. Yeah. Okay, so that we can talk about it. So we have a fragment of a game, like completely neutral stuff. White is slightly better, right? Because he's playing against the IQP. Black is stuck with a light square bishop, which is like the bad one, in air quotes, right? But nothing tragic seems to be happening yet. We have ourselves a game. And yeah, like then what you do, you kind of go move on a move by move basis, and you're supposed to spot a moment where one of the players, and you didn't know who, was supposed to be
So
able
that,
to
can I play it right now?
Yes, please do. I mean, we can also
So
encourage
there
the
was a
viewers of
mistake
ours.
from one of the players, and I have to
Yeah,
spot the mistake.
yeah, like the moment when, okay, I can make it easier for you. White could have won the game at a certain point of time.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm
That's
gonna
already
replay
make
it.
that's already making things easier for you and everybody else because you just need to focus on the moves of white for this very purpose, right?
So this is how the so I'm playing G4, H5, H3. I'm just gonna replay it. Yeah, maybe I'll develop a feeling. Bishop B5. This feels okay. We'll see. Knight E4, Bishop D7, Bishop C2. takes, king d6, rook d1, rook e7, that was a draw. So even without a very deep analysis, I would say that white missed an opportunity to trap the rook.
There you go.
Yeah, so about here, let me check. So g4, it kind of makes sense because otherwise I don't see how else do you trap it, and g4, it's just a very logical positional move. I mean, you limit your opponent's pieces, you limit the knight, you stop rook h5, so h5, again, I feel that you probably have to play h3. I mean, again, based on the gut instinct, that h3 feels all right. And maybe, again, it's just based on the gut instinct, because very often I'm listening to my gut instinct, and then I try to identify when is the moment. And maybe around this moment after bishop b5, knight e4, bishop d7. So my money would be on bishop d7.
That's a mistake by black, right?
I would, again, based on gut feeling, I would say if there's something here, it's maybe here. Is it wrong?
Well, you must have a very good microbiome in your gut, because your gut feeling says it all. Yeah, you're correct. But so
Okay.
now you kind of have a hunch. You have a hunch, and essentially you've located the moment, meaning that you have
I
a good
found it.
sixth sense.
I
That
found
you
it,
have a
yeah.
very good sense for like a sixth sense for those critical moments, for sensing them. That's a priceless skill, by the way. And well, now what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to figure out how was White supposed to improve upon your his previous play, instead of playing bishop c2 as if move 32 or something better available.
Oh wait, maybe I did not find it. At least I thought I found it. I thought I found it. So what I spotted was an idea to play g5 and f4. So with the idea to trap the rook. But then I obviously blundered knight e4 check. So maybe this is something I have to calculate.
Or maybe you can use something that is called retrograde thinking, meaning that g5 is a great idea. It's just that before you play f4 to catch the rook, you are supposed to insert something which neutralizes the fork afterwards, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, let me think. So I'm gonna put it on the board. Yeah, this is something I spotted very quickly. So I thought that f4 kind of makes sense, but there's knight e4 check, and unless we are winning this endgame, I'm not really sure. Like king e3, let's say black would take it. F takes on e5. Even this position, even knight takes on b3. I don't think that white can win this. The pawn on g4 most likely is dropping. So I was thinking, yeah, like g5. If the knight goes, then f4 will be coming stronger. But again, the point is here after f4, there's knight e4 check. Yeah, so, and again, we are not trapping the rook. So just a second, let me spend some time here. So he played...
With the rook of black already standing on g5, the problem is that you want to play f4 and have it caught, but he has a counter on e4 with a check, right? And the problem is not really the check. The problem is that he captures the rook of yours on d2 before you help yourself to the rook on g5 of yours.
It's actually g5, rook g5, and rook e2 check, yeah?
The king goes away somewhere, and then you're free to go with f4. Very good, very good. So obviously, this is it doesn't come from the course, but it would be an exercise that would be planted somewhere at its beginning, right? Something that is like not super complicated if you know what the right mindset is and you're kind of used to the mindset already. But it's like very entertaining, and it kind of forces your brain to work differently than when solving regular puzzles, because many of my students, they rightfully so, complain that, well, solving training based on solving puzzles is not, it doesn't, imitate playing over the board games the same, because playing over the board games is more of a process, right? Whereas here, if you solve puzzles, like pure puzzles, you get like an excerpt, some sort of a moment, and you are biased towards knowing, like positively, that there is something in it, right? And then in a practical game, you do not have this kind of luxury. Whereas if you have a fragment of the game, you kind of never know. Every move is a potential suspect. Yeah, they're totally correct. I mean, if I may add a little bit on top of that, the pawn on g5 aims to lure the rook towards that square where after rook e2 check f4, the rook gets caught, and you can always sacrifice on an intermediate basis this rook of yours on e4, winning an exchange a piece effectively. But if the knight of his comes back, The problem is, let's say to e8, the problem is that then f4 comes,
Yeah.
right? And after rook e4, bishop takes d5, rook takes f4, king g3, rook f1, you help yourself to the pawn on b7, you're just a pawn up and winning. Yeah, so like black could choose like her way to die in this case if white had only played g5. Yeah, like whether she wants to lose the exchange or whether she wants to lose the pawn. In either case, white is totally winning. But this resource escaped the attention of such a strong player as Bauer. So I can imagine this not being like particularly trivial. Yeah, especially if it's like an ongoing game. It was a rapid.
It
So
could
we
have
need
been
to have.
also a time scramble.
Sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it was a time scramble because it's like the 29th move, and this is like a very kind of strategic position in nature. So like White's play is more or less obvious. I mean, he did end up winning the game afterwards, so we can just speculate. We'll have to check the timestamps, but it's like sort of secondary importance already, right? The point is that if you train like this is a completely different experience compared to solving like regular puzzles. And I do not wish to discredit, solving puzzles as a training method because actually within my method, 80% of the puzzles are actually, like puzzles, right? But there's no other way. But I decided to include this like fifth element, which is something else, just not to leave any stone unturned, as they say, right? So you apparently have the course already on your Chessable account, right? I don't know if you've verified this
I'm
already.
gonna check it. Yeah. I'll definitely
Yeah,
check it.
all the most important people in the world got it in the first
Yes,
place, right?
including
So,
me.
like you are at the very top of the list. No,
Thank
seriously,
you, thank you. No,
the
but
point
actually, I
is,
think you can give away only 5 copies or so.
yeah, but like this was a great. This is always a great investment. The greatest of investment is if you can invest in friends and colleagues, right? So,
I'm gonna
no,
send you my Dutch course. So if you Wojciech, you're gonna start to play the Dutch, I will be honored.
you're gonna be what?
I'll be honored.
You're gonna be honored. Okay, I do play the
Yes,
Dutch
yes.
as white, as you know, and I do not score so badly at the end of the day. So, and I did buy your course, and I did like it because it kind of convinced me that I have not so much to fear at the end of the day. So, partially, because if an expert like yourself doesn't cover some variations, I'm not throwing you under the bus totally out
Yeah. We
here.
had this discussion. I
Yeah, and I
remember.
and I s- I'm still not telling you. I'm still not telling you which line I have in mind. But
Don't worry, I'm
otherwise,
gonna
guys,
find it out.
just for the record, that's probably the best Dutch course that there is on the market right now. There are like two other sources. There is like this Michel Abeln Chessable course from a couple of years back, and there is this book like a double volume work by Mihai Marin, as far as I remember. But
No, but he
my
plays the
favorite.
Christmas variation. I don't think he plays the Leningrad, does he?
No, he plays the Leningrad.
The Leningrad. Yeah, somebody told me
Leningrad.
he puts this Christmas tree, which I think is not really that great.
No, he wrote a book. He wrote a book on the
oh,
Leningrad, like with quality, just as far as I remember. I
oh.
mean, I know because I have it right behind me. I guess it has to be there. Yeah, like it's there, right? So it was like a two-volume work. One of them pertained to sidelines, and the other one was a Leningrad.
I could look back and look at my shelf, except it's not there at the moment because I'm getting ready for renovations. Yeah, and
You
every
see,
single book I kept
I
packed away.
I have this already behind me, but like just for the record, the books that I have behind me is just like 1/5 maybe of my chess library. Most of it is like at my parents' home. But if I only told my wife that I need those books here, in the apartment, which is already kind of tight, right, in terms of space, well, she would have surely divorced me. So I'm not bringing any more any more things, home. I'm just, if I can buy something in digital form, I'm gonna make use of this opportunity, right? You know how it
Yeah.
works. You know
All
how
right.
it works. No, awesome. I mean, yeah, I would love to like be able to guide, our viewers, for the other, floor exercises as well. But you know, like you
You can
could
keep it maybe for the next time.
maybe, yeah, maybe we could do it like this. We could also talk about cheating a little bit more. But like today, I need to pick up my son from preschool already.
I think
So
until next time, Wojciech, there's going to be at least 3 more dramas. So I think the chess world doesn't disappoint us. I mean, they always find something to complain about, so there's going to be another big scandal. So probably this week even, yeah. So just I'm not even holding my breath. So I think something is bound to happen. So we can always we can always discuss something. Again, we didn't really yet talk about how it is to work with Chessable. Like I've been working with Chessable myself already 4 years or 5 years. I don't remember. Yeah, basically I switched from modern chess and the cheating problem and everything else. Yeah, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wish actually that there was like far less drama in our tiny chess world involved. And again, I cannot emphasize this enough. I do wish that this whole situation with chess 960 is gonna kind of resolve amicably, because again, like it's for a world of a sport like this, which is a niche sport by all standards. We're not football that we can afford to argue with one another. I do wish like the best for both of the sides, and I sympathize to a certain degree with both of the sides, as a person and as a player, also as somebody who's like involved in the and chess as a game, as such, right? And yeah, I would wish that by the time we meet again, we could actually talk about how nicely things got settled out there, and all of a sudden we've got cooperation instead of arguments. But one thing maybe to finish off, what I wish to say is that, in turbulent times like these, like reason is like a very scarce commodity, like the voice of reason. And if we just listen to it a little bit more as humanity, maybe we would have been in a slightly different place. Maybe different bad things would not be happening in the world in the
Yeah,
meantime, right? Maybe
here,
that's a
here.
little bit melancholic, but this is how I view it. We all need FIDE, we all need Magnus and Hikaru. We wish them obviously all the best, and hopefully when we meet again, me and you, I mean Arturs and myself, then we're gonna have reasons to celebrate. Yeah, like that
Yeah,
something's
absolutely.
improved. Yeah.
All right, so I'm saying thank you, Wojciech, for joining me today. So I'm gonna maybe talk a bit you off screen. So for the viewers, again, thank you for watching this. I'll be back in a minute. I'll just say a couple of parting words to Wojciech off the screen, and see you guys.